Have you ever noticed how some of the most beautiful women, the ones who seem to have everything, often end up single, while men seem to marry women who are, well, more average looking? You see it everywhere, in real life, in your social circle, even among celebrities. The woman who turns heads, who has the perfect body, flawless skin, stunning confidence, she's admired, desired, even chased, but when it comes to marriage, men often walk past her and settle down with someone far less striking. It's one of the most puzzling relationship dynamics in human behavior. People whisper things like, she could have any man she wants, why is she still single? Or he dated the most gorgeous women before, but look who he finally married. On the surface, it makes no sense. We're told men are visual creatures, that they're obsessed with beauty. So why do so many of them end up choosing women who aren't the most conventionally attractive? Here's the truth. It's not about looks at all. It's about something much deeper, something that touches a man's nervous system, not just his eyes. Because while beauty might spark a man's attraction, it doesn't always earn his devotion. See, men are wired, biologically and psychologically, to seek emotional safety. They might crave excitement in the short term, but when it comes to building a life, starting a family, or choosing a lifelong partner, their instincts shift. They stop chasing the high of passion, and start seeking the calm of peace. That's why so many men, even those who have access to beautiful women, end up marrying someone more average. Because she represents something beauty alone can't provide: security, emotional balance, and a sense of home. And here's where it gets fascinating. Many women don't realize that for men, emotional safety is as powerful as physical attraction is for them. When a man feels understood, respected, and emotionally grounded, his brain releases the same kind of pleasure and stability hormones that beauty triggers in the beginning stages of attraction. But this time, it's lasting. So while looks might open the door, it's emotional peace that keeps him walking through it every day. And in today's video, we're breaking down exactly why that happens. Why men often choose average women for marriage. And why beauty alone rarely wins in the long game of love. Stay till the very end, because the final reason I'm about to share will completely change the way you see attraction, relationships, and long-term commitment. We live in a world completely obsessed with appearances. Every scroll on social media is a parade of perfection: flawless skin, sculpted bodies, vacation photos drenched in filters and validation. We're constantly told, directly and indirectly, that the more beautiful you are, the more valuable you become. It's the silent currency of modern society: beauty equals worth. But then, something doesn't quite add up. Because when you look beyond the screen, into real life, you start to notice a strange contradiction. It's not always the most stunning, most Instagram-perfect women who end up in stable, lasting relationships. It's often the women you describe as normal, approachable, or average, who seem to build the strongest emotional bonds. Think about it. You've probably seen this pattern in your own life: that one woman who's effortlessly beautiful but somehow always single. And another woman, not conventionally attractive by society's standards, who's deeply loved, cherished, and married to a man who treats her like gold. So the question becomes, why? Is it that men are lowering their standards? Or is it that their definition of value changes as they mature, from surface-level attraction to something more psychological, emotional, even spiritual? Because while the world trains women to compete in the beauty Olympics, men, deep down, are playing a completely different game. They may enjoy the thrill of being around beauty, it feeds their ego, it stimulates their biology. But when it comes to building a life, creating peace, and choosing a woman they can trust with their soul, they start looking for something beauty alone can't offer. Something you can't see on a phone screen. Something that doesn't fade with time, or get replaced by the next trend. And that something is what most people never talk about: the emotional architecture of male commitment. See, there's a hidden layer of psychology that shapes the way men make relationship decisions. It's not random. It's not just taste. It's biology meeting emotional logic, a mix of what evolution designed men to want, and what modern society has conditioned them to fear. Men are instinctively drawn to beauty, but they're emotionally loyal to peace. So when they find a woman who makes them feel seen without pressure, respected without competition, loved without chaos, that's when they stop looking. And that's what we're diving into today. Because this isn't about average women versus beautiful women. It's about understanding what kind of energy, mindset, and emotional presence make men see you as wife material, not just date material. The truth lies in psychology, biology, and emotional strategy, and today, we're unpacking it all step by step. 1. Beauty attracts but doesn't sustain connection. Let's start with the part everyone agrees on: men are visual creatures. Physical attraction matters. It's the spark, the first impression, the magnetic pull that catches a man's attention. It's biological. It's instinctual. From an evolutionary perspective, men are naturally drawn to signs of fertility, health, and youth, things the brain subconsciously associates with survival and reproduction. That's why beauty can feel so powerful. It's not just about vanity, it's about chemistry. When a man sees a woman he finds attractive, his brain releases a surge of dopamine. That's the pleasure chemical that creates excitement, desire, and pursuit. But here's the twist that most people miss: dopamine fades. The same chemistry that creates attraction is the same one that eventually demands something deeper to sustain interest. Because beauty, as powerful as it is, only holds attention for a short time before the brain starts craving stability. In other words, beauty is the hook, not the anchor. And this is where the emotional divide begins. According to research published in Evolutionary Psychology, men often pursue extremely attractive women for status or ego validation. She becomes a symbol, proof that he's desirable, successful, or dominant among his peers. In that phase, attraction is about what she represents, not who she is. But when it comes to marriage, when men think about lifelong partnership, the psychology completely shifts. Because now, it's not about who turns him on the most, it's about who turns his life into peace. And peace doesn't come from constant stimulation. It comes from emotional safety, from being around someone who feels like calm, not competition. So while physical beauty might make a man chase, emotional comfort makes him commit. That's why you'll often hear men say things like, "I just feel at ease with her. She doesn't stress me out. She understands me without judging." Those sentences don't sound romantic, but they're everything to a man looking for a wife. Because as men mature, they start to realize that beauty can attract the eyes, but peace attracts the soul. And sometimes, that peace comes from a woman who isn't the most glamorous in the room. She might not have the perfect Instagram feed, or 1,000 DMs in her inbox. But she has something far rarer: emotional stability. She listens more than she argues. She laughs easily. She knows how to comfort rather than control. And she doesn't make him feel like he has to earn her love every single day through performance or perfection. That kind of woman doesn't chase validation, she offers value. And in a world where men are constantly competing, in their jobs, in society, in status, finding a woman who doesn't make them compete at home feels like peace they never knew they needed. So yes, beauty gets a man's attention. But peace makes him stay. And that's the hidden truth most people overlook. Men don't fall in love with beauty, they fall in love with how they feel in the presence of that beauty. If she makes him feel anxious, insecure, or constantly tested, it doesn't matter how beautiful she is, he'll eventually drift away. But if she makes him feel respected, understood, and emotionally safe, he'll build his life around her. That's why, time and time again, the average woman, the one who doesn't play games, who doesn't make him feel small, ends up being the one he marries. Because to a man who's seen the chaos of the world, peace is the most attractive quality a woman can have. 2. The high-maintenance illusion. Now, let's talk about one of the biggest psychological factors that most people completely overlook: perception. Because when it comes to attraction, men aren't just reacting to how a woman looks. They're reacting to what her appearance represents, consciously and subconsciously. Many highly attractive women, not all but some, are often perceived as high maintenance. And that word, high maintenance, doesn't just describe effort or standards. In the male mind, it often signals emotional risk. Here's what I mean. When a man meets an extremely beautiful woman, his brain immediately registers three things. 1. Competition, every guy wants her. Am I good enough? 2. Pressure, can I keep her attention, or will she get bored? 3. Fear of loss, what if she finds someone better? So from the very first moment, the dynamic is already charged. Not with peace, but with performance anxiety. It's not that men fear beautiful women, they fear what might come with them. The constant male attention she gets online or in public. The silent pressure to measure up to her image. The lingering insecurity that at any moment, someone richer, fitter, or more exciting could take his place. That's not love, that's tension. And over time, that tension turns attraction into exhaustion. Because while some men might enjoy the chase, very few want to live their entire lives feeling like they're competing just to be enough. So what happens? They begin to associate beauty with emotional instability, not because the woman is unstable, but because the relationship dynamic triggers instability within them. It's subtle but powerful. Men crave women who make them feel confident, capable, and appreciated, not those who constantly remind them of their insecurities. And sometimes, that average-looking woman, the one who's comfortable in her skin, grounded, and emotionally nurturing, makes a man feel exactly that. He doesn't feel like he's performing around her. He feels like he's arrived. That sense of emotional safety activates something primal in men, a deep sense of belonging and leadership. It tells him, you're safe here. You're respected here. You don't have to prove your worth every day. And that feeling is addictive, not in a dopamine rush kind of way, but in a soul-calming kind of way. That's why, when men talk about wifey material, they're rarely describing a woman's body, they're describing how she makes them feel. Because here's the truth most people miss. Men don't marry the woman who excites them the most. They marry the woman who makes them feel the most at peace. That's the paradox, the woman who excites a man's ego often can't sustain his heart. Let me ask you something. Do you think this high-maintenance perception is unfair to beautiful women, or is it a reflection of deeper insecurities in men? Drop your honest opinion in the comments, I read every one of them. And here's the thing. None of this means men don't value beauty. They absolutely do. But as they mature, emotionally, mentally, even spiritually, they begin to see that peace of mind is the ultimate luxury. A beautiful face can capture his attention, but only emotional consistency can capture his soul. So when he finds a woman who doesn't drain him emotionally, who supports his vision instead of competing with it, who knows when to speak, and when to listen, she becomes more than attractive. She becomes rare. That's the kind of woman a man will protect, prioritize, and build with. So ask yourself, which kind of energy do you bring into relationships? Are you creating peace or tension? Because at the end of the day, men don't run from beauty, they run from chaos. And peace. That's the new sexy. If you're enjoying this breakdown so far, hit that like button, it tells YouTube to show this to more people who love deep relationship psychology like you. And if you haven't already, subscribe, because in a moment, we're diving into something that will completely change how you understand what men really want in long-term commitment. 3. Men marry who they feel safe being vulnerable with. Now let's get to the real heart of the matter, emotional safety. You see, most men are taught from a young age to suppress their emotions. Don't cry. Be strong. Man up. Those three phrases become emotional armor. But that armor also becomes a prison. When a man meets a woman who makes him feel he can finally take that armor off, without being judged, mocked, or seen as weak, that's when something profound happens. He feels safe. And here's what most people don't realize, vulnerability is a man's version of intimacy. It's not about flowers, grand gestures, or expensive dates. It's about sitting in silence and saying, I'm struggling, and knowing she won't use it against him later. That's rare, because a lot of men have experienced emotional rejection before. Maybe they opened up once and were told to toughen up. Maybe their vulnerability was laughed at, or worse, thrown back in their face during an argument. So when a man finds a woman who listens without ego, who doesn't interrupt, who simply makes him feel understood, that's the woman he builds a future with. Because in her presence, he can rest. He doesn't have to perform. He doesn't have to prove. He just is. That emotional comfort transforms the relationship from attraction to attachment. From excitement to commitment. Because while beauty might turn his head, emotional safety captures his heart and keeps it. And if you've ever wondered why men often describe their wives as their peace, this is why. She's not just pretty. She's his place of calm in a world that constantly demands he be strong. If this insight is connecting with you right now, take a second to like this video, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Because we're just getting started, and every day, we dive deep into the psychology of love, attraction, and human behavior. 4. The beauty paradox: too much choice creates less commitment. Now let's talk about something few people are willing to admit, what I call the beauty paradox. At first glance, being extremely attractive seems like a massive advantage in dating. More attention. More compliments. More options. But that's exactly where the problem begins. Because when you have an abundance of choice, commitment starts to lose its value. Studies in evolutionary and social psychology show that people who are constantly surrounded by romantic options often struggle to settle down, not because they don't want love, but because their perception of abundance creates a fear of missing out. It's the same way social media affects us. You see everyone's highlight reels and suddenly, what you have doesn't seem enough, even if it's real, even if it's good. Now apply that to dating. Highly attractive women, the kind society places on a pedestal, often find themselves pursued endlessly. But here's the catch: many of those men aren't chasing her. They're chasing what she represents: validation, status, conquest. To them, she's not a partner. She's a prize. And that dynamic can be exhausting. Because when every man is trying to impress you, few take the time to understand you. So even though it looks like she's got it all, attention, compliments, offers, deep down, it can feel isolating. Everyone sees her beauty, but few see her. Meanwhile, the so-called average woman often moves through relationships with more authenticity. She doesn't have to question every man's motive. She attracts the kind of men who are drawn not to image, but to energy, to kindness, humor, shared goals, and emotional connection. And that's the foundation that makes a relationship last. So here's the paradox. The more options you have, the harder it becomes to trust that any of them are real. And when commitment feels replaceable, real intimacy struggles to grow. That's why many men ultimately choose the woman who feels genuine over the one who seems perfect. Because genuine connection is rare in a world that constantly worships appearances. Now, I want to hear from you. Do you think having too many romantic options makes it harder to find real love? Drop your thoughts in the comments, I read every single one. And if this insight opened your eyes or made you think differently about relationships, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because the next part of this breakdown goes even deeper into the psychology behind why men commit. 5. Emotional compatibility outweighs physical perfection. Here's something most people never think about. Attraction evolves over time. At the beginning of a relationship, everything feels electric. You can't stop thinking about the person, your heart races when they text, and every moment feels like a movie. That's dopamine, the brain's reward chemical, flooding your system. It's excitement, novelty, and desire all rolled into one. But here's the thing about dopamine: it fades. The human brain isn't designed to stay in that heightened state forever. If it did, you wouldn't be able to focus, work, or even think straight. So as relationships mature, the chemistry changes. The brain begins to crave oxytocin and serotonin, the hormones of trust, peace, and stability. These are the same chemicals that make you feel safe when you're around someone who truly understands you. And this shift is where emotional compatibility becomes more powerful than physical perfection. Because beauty might ignite the spark, but emotional connection keeps the fire alive. Think about it. When a man is deciding who to build a life with, he's not asking, who excites me the most right now? He's asking, who can I come home to when life gets hard? Who brings me calm when the world feels chaotic? A truly attractive woman might captivate his eyes, but the emotionally compatible woman captures his soul. She's not competing with the world for attention. She's creating a world with him that feels peaceful, grounded, and real. And here's where biology backs this up. Studies show that long-term couples with high emotional compatibility experience more stable levels of oxytocin, meaning their bond literally rewires the brain for security and comfort. That's why many men say, she just feels like home. It's not just a phrase, it's chemistry. It's biology choosing safety over chaos. A man might be drawn to the woman who turns heads, but he stays with the one who turns his house into a home. If you're enjoying this breakdown so far, don't forget to hit the like button. It really helps the channel reach more people. And if you believe emotional connection matters more than looks, type real love in the comments. Let's see how many of you agree. And of course, subscribe if you want to keep learning the real psychology behind attraction, love, and commitment. Alright, let's bring it all together, because this is where everything we've talked about starts to make sense. When it comes to love and long-term relationships, here's the truth most people miss. Beauty attracts, but peace sustains. That initial spark, that physical magnetism, it gets you noticed. But it's not what makes someone stay. Emotional safety always beats physical perfection. Because no matter how stunning someone looks, if being around them feels like walking on eggshells, the connection eventually collapses. And men don't marry the woman who makes them feel like they're winning. They marry the one who makes them feel like they're home. Home, that word says it all. It's not about luxury or perfection, it's about peace, warmth, and understanding. At the end of the day, relationships that last aren't built on fireworks, they're built on consistency. The kind of love that feels calm, not chaotic. The kind of connection that gives, not drains. And that's why so many men, consciously or not, end up choosing the woman who gives them emotional peace over the one who simply gives them physical excitement. If this video opened your eyes or made you think differently about attraction and commitment, do me a quick favor. Hit that like button, it really helps the channel grow and reach more people who love content like this. And I'd love to hear from you. What do you think keeps a relationship strong in the long run, passion, peace, or something else entirely? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I read and respond to as many as I can. And of course, if you want more deep, psychology-based breakdowns like this, subscribe and turn on the notification bell, because we've got more powerful insights coming every single week, from the hidden truths about male and female psychology, to what really makes modern relationships thrive or fail. Let me leave you with one question. And it's one that might change how you see relationships altogether. Do men really choose average women? Or do those so-called average women simply understand what men truly need? Because maybe, just maybe, it's never been about being the most beautiful woman in the room. It's about being the most emotionally grounded one. The woman who listens instead of judges. Who supports without controlling. Who knows her worth but doesn't need to prove it. That's not average. That's rare. And in a world that constantly celebrates looks over depth, that kind of woman stands out, quietly, powerfully, and permanently. So maybe it's time we redefine what attractive really means. Maybe true beauty isn't found in how someone looks, but in how someone makes you feel. I want to hear from you. Do you think men marry average women? Or do they marry the ones who make them feel emotionally seen, safe, and supported? Drop your thoughts in the comments, I'll be reading every single one. And remember this. Beauty may turn heads, but peace keeps hearts. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because next week, we're diving even deeper into the hidden psychology of love, attraction, and the human mind.